Good afternoon. I'm Jack Berryman, historian for the American College of Sports Medicine. And we're here today talking with Francis O'Connor as part of ACSM's Distinguished Leaders in Sports Medicine and Exercise Science. So, Fran, thank you for coming by and taking a little time out of your busy day.
Well, thank you for having me.
We wanted to start off with sort of a current question, and that is if you could just tell us a little bit of where you're located now, what you're doing, what your job entails, and then after that, some of the current things you're doing with the American College of Sports Medicine.
Well, currently I'm still in active duty, so I'm a colonel in the United States Army. Presently, I'm the department chairman at Uniformed Services University for the Department of Military Medicine. Uniformed Services University is Bethesda. It's part of an academic health center with Walter Reed Army Medical Center. So I've got the privilege to lead the Department of Military Medicine, Military and Emergency Medicine.
Wow,
yes.
That's a busy job.
It is a busy job, but it's, we're the only military medicine department in the entire United States in medical school. So it's a unique job, but that's the unique mission and task of the medical school.
So, does someone need to be in the Army to go to medical school there?
No, they don't need to be in the service before they start, but when they do enroll,
They commit.
now they commit to Army, Navy, Air Force, or Public Health Service.
My brother went to the Air Force Academy, so he owed them 8 years after that.
Yes.
Did you go to West Point?
I did go to West Point.
Good. Okay.
Right.
Wow. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but anyhow. So how many are in your entering classes?
We have about 160 students per year. The lion's share are going to be in the Army, and then the Navy, Air Force, and then we generally have 2 to 4 in the Public Health Service.
And when they go out for their rotations, do they sort of stay in that greater DC area, or do you, how much geography do you have to work with?
They actually get great opportunities to travel all over the United States, to include out in Hawaii, where we have Tripler Army Medical Center.
That's right.
So they travel everywhere.
Do they go to bases then primarily, or base hospitals? Or?
They go to bases with large military treatment facilities.
Okay.
Generally service specific.
VAs?
Not VAs.
Not VA?
Not VAs.
Okay.
Generally going to be active duty, where they get an opportunity to go to future training programs, get some exposure, to set them up for success when they want to apply for residencies.
So Walter Reed is the hospital?
Walter Reed is a medical center right there in Washington, in Bethesda.
Okay, so I went to grad school at University of Maryland, and I should know my geography down there, but it's been a while. But they're all pretty close.
They're all very close, but Walter Reed was in the District of Columbia. It was an Army facility that was closed several years ago. Now you have the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, which is the old Bethesda Navy. So it's a combined joint facility, Army, Navy, Air Force, right there at Walter Reed. So it's a national military medical center.
And your campus is in Bethesda, you said?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So all your classes are there? Students take all their classes there?
Right. They do all their preclinical work right there at Uniformed Services University.
Okay.
Right.
And what about currently with ACSM? Are you involved in any committees?
Yeah, I'm involved with one committee in particular, and that's the Clinical Leadership Committee with the college. I recently came off an editorial board with Current Sports Medicine Reports.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, so I was on the editorial board with Current Sports Medicine Reports and MSSE, and I transitioned off those, so I'm now Clinical Leadership Committee and work with the Advanced Team Physician course as well.
Okay. So Margot's on those, right?
Yes.
Is she the new chair?
She's the chair.
I thought that's what she said.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how many are on that committee?
That's a fairly large committee. I was there today. I would say maybe 20, 25 personnel.
Wow.
So clinicians of all disciplines.
Yeah.
But trying to engage the the clinical personnel in the college.
In the college, sure. And I've noticed the program. I think that it seems like that clinicians are holding their ground as far as sessions and opportunities on the annual program.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there was a time, what I'm getting at, there was a time when that was not the case.
At least as I see it, a great opportunity, great balance with the basic scientists and the clinicians. But really the magic of the college is the connection between the two.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Fran, if you could now, let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
Where you grew up, interests, sports, high school, where you went to college, and how you ended up at West Point, and then med school.
Well, I grew up in central New York, Syracuse, New York. Fairly large family. I was the oldest of 6. This was, going to high school. I graduated from high school in '77, and I was a gymnast. Now, I was exposed to gymnastics early on in elementary school, so I had exposure on a team actually in middle school and high school. Men's gymnastics was a fairly popular sport, at that time, engaged in high schools across the country. And at the time, between my sophomore and junior years in high school, I had an opportunity to go to a gymnastics camp, and it happened to be at West Point. Went to West Point, and I just fell in love with the mission of West Point. The academy, the gymnastics team obviously was a draw, but it was the mission of what they were doing, what they were creating, the opportunity to pursue scholarship as well as athletic performance, kind of the entire citizen. That really attracted me.
Yeah.
But that initial gymnastics camp led me to West Point.
Did you specialize in anything in gymnastics?
Yes, I specialize in pommel horse.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
That is tough.
I was not the prototypical gymnast. I was not 5'5". I got up to 5'11".
Yeah. When you start swinging your legs around there.
Yeah, but that's what I did mainly at West Point, and I competed all 4 years.
Good.
Happy to say we beat Navy all 4 years
Wow,
that I was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I loved it. It was absolutely
Did you overlap with Jim Peterson at all? At West
Absolutely.
Point? Is that right?
Dr. Peterson and I go way back.
I'll be darned.
Dr. Peterson was in the dreaded Department of Physical Education. He used to wear the black shoes and the black hat. He likes to tell the story of Fran O'Connor. He taught me how to take a punch because he taught boxing at that time. But no, Jim Peterson was a real mover and shaker at the time. He was very engaged in new techniques with strength training. He helped, at that time, women were first coming into West Point, was very much involved with that transition.
What years were you there?
Well, I started at West Point in '77, graduated in '81.
Okay.
Women entered the academy in '76.
Wow.
So it was a big transition time for the academy.
Absolutely. Because physicality is such a huge part of it, and there was always that stigma that women weren't strong enough, and raising a daughter, I had to fight that battle several times.
Well, it's amazing where things have come. There were challenges at that time, and here we are in 2016. You've had, I think, 3 West Point graduates who just completed Ranger School. So things have come full circle in quite a few years.
Yeah. And did you have an eye on med school at the time when you were at West Point, and how did that work with owing, so to speak, so many years?
I did. I had an eye on medical school when I entered the academy, and knew that if there was a will, there would be a way. At the academy, only a small percentage of students can go on to graduate school right away. I was fortunate at that time to do fairly well at the academy and have the opportunity to go to medical school. There's no pre-med program at West Point. They train engineers and future military officers, but there was a track in basic science, and that's what I got my BS in, was basic science.
And where did you go to med school?
I went home. So I went back to Syracuse, thinking that someday I may circle back to upstate New York to practice medicine. Again, large family, and at that time, Uniformed Services University, where I am now, relatively new.
I wondered, I was going to ask, I thought maybe you had gone there, but...
Yeah, it was an opportunity. I was accepted at that time, but I was drawn back to go to Syracuse, back to a school that had been open for 100 years, et cetera. And that's what I did.
Was that done then, Fran, with a commitment that once you finished your MD degree, then you had to go to the Army?
Oh, yeah.
Go back?
Yeah, you graduate from West Point at the time, it's a 5-year commitment.
Okay.
So 4 years, 5-year commitment of active duty service. And at the time, there was an HPSP program which still exists, so 4 years of medical school, 4 years of payback. So now my commitment jumped from 5 years to 9 years in the military, following completion of medical school.
Did they help pay medical school?
They paid medical school. And they provided a stipend. So you're talking about 8 years of education for 9 years of commitment.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know the details, but that seems like a pretty good deal.
To me, it was a good deal. It was a good deal, but I went to West Point because that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
It wasn't the money issue, it was
Sure.
the school that I wanted to attend.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a win-win situation, it seems.
It was at the time.
Did you do then a residency, or what was your
I did.
specialty?
I did a
at that
residency.
point?
Yeah, at that point in time, normally people who do civilian delays, like going to Syracuse, will recycle into the military and do a residency.
Nice.
But I happened to meet this young lady who I married out of medical school. She's a medical school graduate, a classmate of mine, and we competed for a joint training program, and we both ended up in Syracuse.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, so I got what was called a delay from entering back into uniform, and I trained in family medicine right there in central New York.
Okay, so so did you then do a sports medicine fellowship?
I did, but I re-entered the military at that time, and I went to Fort Dix, where I served for 3 years. Big, large, basic training post.
New Jersey?
New Jersey,
Yeah.
Fort Dix, New Jersey,
Yeah.
southern New Jersey. And I was there for 3 years.
What years were they?
I was there 88 to 91,
Okay.
which was an interesting time. We were very, very active, but of course, the last year we had the start of the first Gulf War. So that kind of changed everything in the military. Because at that point I was looking for a fellowship, but we had the Gulf War. Unfortunately, that war was rather short, at that point in time. But it did change the tempo, for the military.
And you're at this time treating any enlisted service?
Teaching,
Or just Army, or treating, or just Army?
no, it was anybody who would be eligible for the system, so they could be Army, Navy, Air Force, dependent upon who was coming into that military treatment facility, as well as their dependents and retirees and their dependents.
Okay.
So it was broad spectrum.
At that time, were you doing anything what we would think of as sports medicine?
Oh, absolutely. With trainees, we had a lot of problems that really kind of energized my interest in sports medicine. Stress fractures, exertional leg pain, exertional collapse.
Okay.
I had
overuse injuries or that. So they weren't necessarily sport related, they were exertion related.
exertion related, but I would argue, and I normally argue that, I represent the largest team in the United States. It's the Army team, with 1 million men and women in active duty and reserves in uniform.
Competing, or use whatever
Absolutely.
words you want.
Well, they're occupational athletes.
Yeah.
So a lot of overuse injuries, acute traumatic injuries, but I had a real interest in the medical problems, exertional syncope, exertional sudden death, a lot of things that I confronted that really focused what I was going to do after that in terms of research, clinical interest, policy, et cetera.
Okay, next stop.
Well, then I did do a fellowship.
Okay.
I had applied to try to do a fellowship in an area that I could marry things up for my wife, who was an anesthesiologist, and hopefully land near an Army training program in family medicine where I could do a fellowship and then move right over and not have to move my wife too much. So we found a program down at Virginia Hospital Center, sister program to Georgetown University, Dr. Robert Nerschel. And this is in the time before accredited fellowships, but I trained with him for a year. And at the time, that was rather common practice to have fellowships run by orthopedic surgeons.
Yes.
And that's what I did for the first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've had experiences in a lot of different venues, so to speak, in medicine.
Yes.
And then next stop.
Well, after I did that fellowship, then I went down to that family medicine residency program.
Okay.
And at the time, the military would be training people in sports medicine, bring them back to residencies where they'd essentially be force multipliers and educators. So I was in a residency as an educator and trying to enhance the education of the family practice residents in musculoskeletal medicine. And that's what I did for the next 4 or 5 years.
Next stop?
Well, then I got an opportunity up the road at the medical school, military medical school, to help put together
And this is at Bethesda now?
at Bethesda. Okay. So now we're in Northern Virginia. This is in Maryland,
Okay.
going up to start a fellowship in sports medicine and kind of bridging what we were doing at Virginia Hospital Center with the military and create this opportunity. Early on, there was another Army doctor, Dr. Wade Lilligard, who had been there, and I was assisting him. But then I had the opportunity to come and be the fellowship director, and I remained there at Uniformed Services University as the fellowship director about 6, 7 years at Uniformed Services.
There was a former classmate of mine named Al Morris. Did you know him in the D.C. area?
You know, I did know, yes, I do know Al Morris, because
He
Al
passed
Morris
away unexpectedly a couple years ago, but I think he was Army.
He was Army, and Al was very big with the American Medical Athletic Association,
Okay.
AMA, big running community.
Yes, yeah,
Al
he was
Morris,
a runner.
I've heard him speak. Absolutely.
Yeah, he and I were grad students together at UMass in the 1970s.
Wow.
And he came to a lot of ACSM
Yes.
meetings as well.
Yeah.
Actually had an early book on sports medicine.
He was a legend, and I know he was a very early leader with the American Medical Athletic Association down in Washington, related with the Marine Corps Marathon. Yeah.
We've finally got back to where we started now, where you're located now.
Well, actually,
not.
I was there at Uniformed Services University, and then the military, as you move up, asked me to leave to go be director of the family medicine program down at Fort Belvoir.
Where is
Back,
that?
right where I was in Northern Virginia.
Oh.
But now I was going to back to be in charge, and I was there for a year where I was the essentially director overseeing the residency and the clinical operations in family medicine. Was there for 1 year, and then with the second war, this is now, after 9/11, 2005, 2006, I was asked to deploy overseas. And I spent 1 year overseas with FACSM. That's Special Operations Command, Central Command. So I
Where
was.
was that?
Well, FACSM is located down in Tampa at MacDill, and they're forward in Qatar over in the Middle East, and then of course they're projected all over Iraq, Afghanistan, all the countries in CENTCOM. So my job was to be the especially Special Operations Command surgeon for all of Special Operations Forces in the Special Operations Central Command Theater of Operations. So my job was to essentially advise, support the commanding general over all the Special Operation troops and theaters. So we traveled in and out of Afghanistan, Iraq, and Kuwait, et cetera, et cetera.
Never a dull moment.
It was not a dull moment. It was very engaging.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a great experience, very rewarding.
Were you able to keep your family sort of located in the Maryland, Virginia area?
Yes.
All this time? I mean, some of those places aren't that far apart. Right?
Oh yeah, so my family remained in Northern Virginia, and I just drove.
Yeah.
And of course, you're not taking your family when you go overseas to the
Right.
Middle East.
Right. And then you came back to Bethesda.
Then I came back to Bethesda, actually came back to Fort Belvoir, and at the time, there was a call to develop a human performance section at Uniformed Services University. Because now the fellowship director was in the hands of someone else at this point in time. And I came back to work with Dr. Patty Doyster, an exercise physiologist, to stand up a human performance center at Uniformed Services University in the Department of Military Medicine. And working with Patty for 5 years, we built CHAMP, which is the Consortium for Health and Military Performance, dedicated really to translational human performance optimization for soldiers. And that's what I did for quite some time before I became the department chair about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And then that's it.
See, I told you it would
Yes.
take a while.
Well, with the military, move around through a few jobs.
That's right,
But it's
yeah.
been great opportunities all the way along.
Yeah. Well, we're rapidly running out of time.
Yes.
here, so I wanted to conclude if you wanted to say a little bit more back to the present again and ACSM and sort of where the clinicians are at and some of the position statements and and things like that. Oh, and were you involved in the team physicians
Yes.
classes?
Absolutely. No, in fact, that attracted me.
I wondered.
When I was in
Forgot to ask
Syracuse,
you earlier.
I went to the complete series, 1, 2, and 3, because that was it at the time. And it was engaging with ACSM. I joined as a resident, and that's what drew me in.
What time? What year?
This was back in, I'm going to say, 86, 87.
So that was your first real connection with the college, was the team physicians classes.
Yes, that was my first real connection.
Was there anyone in there that sort of helped you along the way or took you under their wing? Or was Bergfield leading that then? I'm trying to
All of them.
remember.
It's interesting. I know you just spoke to Margot.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a citation award tonight as well. And, I think of the college, I think of three things, because I know our time is limited. But first and foremost is the collegiality. I remember very early on the legends, Jim Puffer, John Lombardo, John Bergfeld, Lyle Mckelly. But what I learned early on was that if I had an issue or a problem, I could reach out and touch these people. An example, Dr. Lyle Mckelly. I was a fellow, and we had a very interesting run of acute spondylolysis problems, spondies. And my fellowship director said, hey, why don't you just call Dr. Mckelly? And I go, Dr. Mckelly? He's the president of ACSM. I can't reach out to him.
Right.
And I did reach out to him. And he said, Fran, he said, hey, just come on up. Spend a couple days with us.
Wow, wasn't that?
And I said, wow. And I did. And that's what I found with him. Wow. Same thing with Dr. Robert Cantu. I found that my membership in ACSM led to this relationship with colleagues who never turned me down.
Yeah.
Dr. Ben Levine, I don't know if you had an opportunity to interview Ben.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Heard him speak, brilliant cardiologist on syncope in athletes. And I went up to him and I said, hey, Dr. Levine, family physician, sports medicine doc, I'm really enjoying your lecture. Would you mind, could we write something for primary care physicians? And he said, sure, let's do that. I've probably written 6 articles now with Dr. Levine.
Ben, yeah, wow. That's amazing.
But to me, the magic of the college, it's the interprofessionalism with the scientists, the basic scientists in particular, seeing where the specialty is going. I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you today if it had not been for my relationship with Dr. Patty Doyster, a basic scientist. The two of us working together are a much stronger team, and you're not going to find it anywhere else than what you see in the college.
Yeah.
The college has also stepped up many times. We've had a number of collaborative sessions, the Department of Defense with the college, exertional heat illness, sickle cell trait, extreme exercise, placebo, working together to solve common problems. Jim Whitehead, every time I've turned to him for help with the Department of Defense, the answer is always yes.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it's been a great benefit.
The people up at Natick
Oh,
are all members of ACSM.
Mike Saka,
Yeah.
Bruce Jones,
Yeah,
it was
those
Army
guys.
Public Health
Yeah.
Command, Bob Kenevic.
Yeah.
These are all leaders and great relationship
Yeah.
between ACSM and the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
Clinicians, scientists working together.
Yeah, well, you've explained that very well. I mean, I've heard that from a lot of people, obviously, and I think that is one of the strengths of the college. And I want to again congratulate you on your citation
Thank you.
tonight,
Thank you.
and I'm anxious to go. It's quite a good group of people, obviously, and it was sort of, you were saying earlier, you look at that list of citation winners, and that's quite an impressive list. So, congratulations.
Thank
for
you.
being-
No, it's a
being part of
privilege.
that as well.
So. It's an honor, and again, the college has done an awful lot for me and my career.
Well, I think
it's been
it goes
wonderful.
both ways. Well, nice meeting you. Thanks
Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you.